Welcome to another edition of Morning Date, where we get to meet people who love what they do and share that love with us on the show. Today we're sitting down with someone who's going to give us the ins and outs of e-commerce, and interestingly enough, a bit of insight into mortgages and real estate. I'll let him take us through that. Well, let's meet Managing Director of AmWest Funding Korea, James Yu. Hello, James, and welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me, Sue. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you here.
Yeah.
Could you say hi to our listeners for us?
Yeah, of course. Good morning, everybody.
Yes.
And it's a pleasure to meet you. And it's my privilege to be able to talk about something I'm excited about, am excited about.
Yes.
And it's quite an experience to be here and share this time of conversation with you, Sue.
Well, why don't we jump right into
Yeah.
it? And before we talk about e-commerce, though, can you tell us a bit about what you're currently doing?
Yeah, sure. So I live and work in Seoul, originally from America, and I work at this company called AmWest Funding Korea.
Mhm.
We are a US-based, California-based mortgage bank focusing on residential properties within the United States. And our Korea office helps support the operations there, and we do a bit of sales. And my job is to clean up. I wash the windows, dig out the trash, and I just clean up and fix problems there.
Ah, okay. I think we'll talk about that a little more after we delve into the world of e-commerce now, because you did spend a lot of time in e-commerce. It seems like a bit of a big jump from what you were doing before.
Yeah, definitely. I think e-commerce was everything that I was very interested in some of my education and my background. And this recent transition, it does actually seem like a big jump, but I think what I've learned from my past experiences, it seems like a natural transition. I just happen to switch industries, that's all.
Ah,
And so
okay.
more related to global development and global business and global strategy. And so this is a US-based company, but my role here is in Korea, obviously, so there's a global element to that as well.
Yes. Well, let's start with your very first work in e-commerce here in Korea, and that takes us to the S company that you worked for.
Yeah, and so the original reason why I came to Korea was to travel, and while I was here, there's some interesting opportunities that came up, and so I'm a foodie, and I love food, and so one of the things that I was hoping to experience here in Korea was all the great Korean food, but my English is perfect, but my Korean was a little bit lacking, and so when I tried to look for a bunch of 맛집s and places to go, and I couldn't find anything, and so a couple like-minded people, we started our own food app, right, all English-based, for people in Korea who wanted to find different things, and so that was my first project, and that allowed me to transition into the S company, big conglomerate company there, and they were interested in making food app as well. And so for a couple of years, my role was to help build out this food app, and then I transitioned into the e-commerce, department of that particular company.
So ever since you started working for that S company, had you moved already to Korea,
Yes.
or were you going back and forth?
No, I was still here. I was
see.
based here and trying to dig down my roots and figure out what I wanted to do. And because of this food app, it allowed me to learn more about e-commerce, and it's all kind of connected as well too. And so it's been I guess a very interesting journey, because I had to learn the market here in Korea, but not just that, but the global e-commerce industry as well. So it's a very enriching experience.
Are you still a big foodie?
I am.
What's
And
your
it's a
favorite Korean food?
It's a problem though. My favorite default answer is 갈비찜 actually.
Oh yeah, so good.
So good.
네. 원래 이제 한국에 여행을 왔었다가 맛집을 찾아다니려고 했는데 우리말을 잘 못했기 때문에 어려움이 많았다고 합니다. 그래서 같은 생각을 가지고 있는 사람들끼리 마음을 모아서 결국은 이 S사에서 이렇게 맛집을 영어로 소개하는 그런 플랫폼을 개발하게 됐다. 그러면서 한국에서 정착을 하는 그런 시작이 됐다는 설명을 해주셨습니다. Now, you mentioned briefly that you also studied something related to your job. What did you study in college, if you don't mind asking?
No problem. I mean, I guess when I was younger, I just thought about what's the future gonna be like, right? And actually, my first major was computer science. But before I had graduated, I realized I don't want to be in front of a computer for 8 hours a day, although that's exactly what I do now. And so I switched to psychology, and I chose psychology because two reasons. One was it was the quickest major I could finish with, and then the second one, I just love learning about people and people's behavior. And as I got more to the topic, it helped me to see things in a different perspective. And so it helped influence my direction in terms of whether it be marketing or consumer behavior, behavioral economics. And so it was kind of an interesting foray into, I guess, to discover what my interests and passions were. And it's essentially people and their behaviors. And so finished with psychology, and it allowed me to view business and view work or view anything through a marketing lens or human behavior lens. And shopping habits, food finding habits, if you will, was what helped me transition into some of the roles that I got to be a part of.
그렇군요. 원래 대학에서는 컴퓨터공학을 공부하다가 나중에는 심리학에 관심을 갖게 되면서 심리학 전공을 했는데 지금 하고 있는 일과 그다음에 이제 오랫동안 몸을 담았던 그 이커머스 일이 사실은 다 이제 사람을 다루는 일이고 마케팅도 결국은 심리와 밀접한 관련이 있기 때문에 다 통해 있다라는 얘기를 해주셨습니다. Well, we'll delve deeper into the world of e-commerce with yourself, James Yu, in just a moment. But first, let's take a song break. 마이클 부블레의 Sway 듣고 와서 제임스 유님과 얘기 나눠보도록 하겠습니다. You're listening to Morning Date, and we're joined in the studio by James Yu, who was Global Project Manager and Global Business Development Manager for a very well-known e-commerce bigwig here in Korea. We're going to start with the basics. So, James, what is e-commerce? And is it the same as social commerce?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think the better way to understand it is to, I guess, try to figure out what that concept of commerce is, which is basically just the activity of buying and selling. I think as I was growing up, I'd follow my parents to the mall, or to swap meets, or to the local market, and commerce was obviously happening back and forth. And we've done it our whole lives. We buy stuff. That's shifted from buying products and items now to services, and the e portion was actually made possible through technology, right? If you just think of e-commerce as electronic email, and email is electronic mail, and e-commerce is electronic commerce.
Yes.
But another way to think about it is just commerce with a layer of technology on top, right? Because of the way technology has evolved, it allowed for different types of commerce activities to happen. Right? So if you think about the evolution of commerce and its e-commerce, in its purest form, the first thing that comes to mind is actually many, many decades ago with the phone, right? Because when the phone was invented, companies started taking advantage of that. The biggest example is Sears. Sears catalogs would be mailed to the homes of people, and they would pick up the phone and order stuff, and then eventually be able to purchase those things. Now that continued to evolve through home shopping, as the internet became more prolific through computers, right? eBay, one of the bigger e-commerce companies from America, Amazon being another one, and airlines. And they just happened to transition as technology transitioned as well. As it continued to evolve, and right now we kind of live our whole lives looking at 6 inches of glass, and we carry it everywhere that we go.
Yes.
And so mobile and smartphones had actually enabled e-commerce to be pretty much a normal activity now.
Yeah.
I remember one fun fact that I had learned about was when the smartphone had come into, I guess, become more prevalent in everyday life. There was the number one e-commerce transaction, at least in America, was what do you think, Sue? What would you imagine that to be?
Daily necessities.
Daily necessities.
No?
Yeah, I mean that's true, but the number one e-commerce transaction at that time was basically apps, right? Because people would just purchase stuff on the iTunes, right? On the Apple smartphone.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the second at least a point in time was Domino's Pizza.
Really?
Yeah, Domino's Pizza was the highest or second highest e-commerce transaction at a certain point in time. And so I think as technology has evolved, the shopping habits and commerce habits have evolved as well. And you mentioned what's the difference between e-commerce and social commerce? Well, social commerce is kind of a subcategory of e-commerce, but this is also, I guess, a specific label for consumer behavior that's always existed, right? Think of social interactions, and especially if you add a layer of commerce on top of that. A long time ago, people would gather around somebody's home, basically in the 60s and 70s, they would have these Tupperware parties.
Yeah.
Right? So they'd kind of gather talk about stuff, and somebody would be in charge of presenting Tupperware, and they buy it and purchase it, right? In the same way as we interact socially, and as that social interaction had gone online, many of these companies, you can think of it almost as like product placement. And if you look at the individual consumer behavior, they just naturally like to talk about stuff that they enjoy. Right?
Yeah.
I bought this shirt. Hey, where'd you get that shirt? I bought this shirt here.
Mm-hmm.
Or I love these shoes that you had. And you just talk about those things. And so companies had used this point of social interaction and created a point of transaction or a platform or various ways for product and commerce to interact. And so this concept of social commerce, it's essentially e-commerce,
Right.
but taking advantage of those social interactions that people naturally have. Right? And so that's another way to think about it. But it is all e-commerce.
Right.
Social commerce is a more specific subcategory of e-commerce.
네, 우리가 보통 말하는 소셜 커머스라는 것은 어떤 하위 카테고리로서 더 광범위하게는 전부 다 전자상 거래라고 볼 수 있겠죠. e-commerce가 이제 전자상 거래가 되겠습니다. And so, do you buy things online as well? What do you purchase the most?
I do. I'm a little bit traditional, so there's only certain things I like to purchase online, but
Yeah.
there's some fairly regular items that I need. For example, I have 2 dogs, and so I always buy pet food. Unfortunately, their diet hasn't changed for many years. And so also content, right? I like to purchase music and video content as well. And then just fast-moving consumer goods like toiletries or soap, toothpaste, things like that. And also electronics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, these are some of the things that I like to buy. But I've been getting a little bit more diverse in terms of my shopping habits online because it's just so much more convenient.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Talking about convenience, I think the point in my life when I just started to shop online a lot was when I had my kids, because I was at home all day long. I couldn't go out. I needed to buy diapers
Yeah.
and formula and whatever, and it's so convenient.
Yeah.
All you need is your smartphone, and you're done. And lo and behold, some of these services they will deliver the day of.
The day of, within a couple hours. It's amazing. It's
Amazing. So now that habit has still stayed with me,
Yeah.
and I still shop online quite a lot.
Yeah, and I think diapers is actually a product that a lot of people buy online because you can't really get too diverse with diapers. Once you find something that works for you,
Yeah.
you're gonna continue to buy those things, and there's no need to go to a store. A couple clicks on that 6 inches of glass, and it's
Right.
gonna be in your front door pretty quick.
네, 그렇습니다. 지금 제임스 유님이 계속 말하는 이 6 inches of glass는 이 스마트폰을 얘기하게 되겠습니다. Several years back, if you compare people and how they shop back then to now, what did consumers seem to be buying more then?
It's interesting because from what I had heard and learned about, obviously it's a long time ago, books were the first things that were purchased, right? Amazon started off as a bookstore. Electronics was another big one. Fashion goods are another one. And I guess if you think about the shopping habits of people, especially as they were transitioning online, they just wanted to safely purchase things and know what to expect, right? Clothes could be a little bit different, but it's becoming more of a category that people are becoming comfortable to purchase online. And so those items that if you purchase something, there's not going to be any deviance, nothing weird. The size isn't going to so electronics, books, certain content, those were the ones that were most frequently purchased.
When was this?
This was, I guess, when the internet had first started, and the first players who were offering these services online.
Right.
That's when these are the types of products that consumers were trusting enough to purchase. And so as consumer behavior started to change as well, there was also an evolution in terms of the categories that were being offered. Another thing on top of that is just the infrastructure, right? So I think these days, I know for myself, I purchase a lot of food online. I started purchasing groceries, as I mentioned, entertainment, content. All of this, the infrastructure had to catch up as well. Whereas before, you could just package something and send it out. But these goods are perishables at times, food or groceries. And so until we refrigerated trucks became more readily available and ubiquitous, we weren't able to really get food or groceries through e-commerce and through delivery. So there's a combination of availability and people's demands, what they expect, and then also the infrastructure needed to follow as well. So if you look at some of those trends, it does indicate and highlight some of the the specific categories that were available online.
It's really fascinating.
Yeah.
과거에 이제 처음 인터넷을 썼을 당시에만 해도 최초라고 해야 될까요? 아니면 초반에 전자상 거래는 대부분 이제 도서로 많이 이루어졌다는 말씀을 해주셨는데요. 아무래도 시간이 지나면서 인프라도 훨씬 더 이제 좋아지고 많은 다양한 물건들을 온라인으로 살 수 있게 되다 보니까 요즘에는 뭐 거의 웬만한 물건뿐만 아니라 음식까지도 다 온라인으로 전자상 거래를 통해 구입을 할 수 있게 됐죠. Can anyone sell things online? What's the process of selling things online?
Can anyone anybody can sell anything online. And what's interesting now is with the proliferation of the internet, and I don't know if your listeners really know, even for example like the dark web and cryptocurrency has enabled literally anything to be found online, right? One of the interesting things that I like to follow is cars, and actually a few years ago there were certain big companies here, e-commerce companies here that were selling cars online. There was some pushback a little bit, but that's kind of interesting to think about. Purchasing a car through the 6 inches of glass, right?
Yeah.
There was news recently about the big electronic company that starts with a T. They are launching a new truck, and they had opened up purchasing to their customers with a $100 initial deposit. And I think that number recently surpassed 500,000 persons who wanted to reserve that new truck that's coming out. And so, yeah, almost anything you can think about is now available online, as the internet allows even legal and illegal stuff, and especially with cryptocurrency, that's enabled some of those financial transactions to happen as well. And so it's interesting times that we live in, that we can literally get anything online.
Interesting is definitely a very nice and diplomatic way of looking at it. Good or bad, we've definitely come a long way from selling books online to now pretty much everything and anything. 네, 전자상 거래 이제는 모든 것이 가능해졌다 이런 얘기를 지금 해주셨고요. 또 누구나 온라인상의 거래를 할 수 있는 시대가 됐다 말씀을 해주셨습니다. Why don't we take a song break and then we'll come back and talk more. This is Gareth Gates, Listen to My Heart. You're listening to Morning Date, and I'm here with Managing Director of AmWest Funding Korea, James Yu. He spent many years in the e-commerce industry. How many years do you recall?
I would say about 7 years in my professional career. Yeah.
So your job at the e-commerce company was to expand its business globally. And what was the hardest part about doing that?
That's a great question. I think I realized that building anything from a global perspective is not easy. And there were definitely lots of lessons learned from that. The preparation, the planning phase, and the execution phase is really important. But one of the things that we realized is that accommodating and also adjusting to the local market and the local consumers were absolutely essential. Right? So localization was definitely key and a critical factor. We basically had to meet the expectations of consumers and understand their behavior. Not only the consumers, but also our business partners, the sellers that we wanted to onboard onto our platform. And so an example of that, our target market was, one of our target markets was Southeast Asia, and many people there, they actually don't have credit cards. Right? And so there's various reasons for that, whether it's infrastructure or just consumer behavior, but a lot of them, they prefer to interact through chat apps, right? And then use bank transfers, right? So different, I guess, marketing tactics that certain companies use, whether it's credit card discounts or point systems. This wasn't working in these types of countries, right? And so as we learn about the consumer behavior, what they're comfortable in doing as they shop online, those are some of the things that we had to adjust and accommodate for. And a lot of these things, we felt they were kind of in the days past, right? We as Korean consumers have already gone past this hurdle, but some of these other nations, other countries, were still, I guess, at a place where certain transactions and certain behaviors were still instilled into the culture itself. So it's definitely not easy, but definitely an enriching experience to see how a culture could evolve as well.
네, 이제 이커머스에서 일을 종사를 하면서 이제 어떻게 하면은 한국의 이 이커머스 회사를 좀 더 글로벌한 회사로 만들 수 있을까, 그런 일에 대해서 고민을 하고 또 여러 가지 아이디어를 내고 개발하는 데에 앞장서셨는데요. 이렇게 하는 어떤 방법 중에는 각 지역의 현지 상황을 파악하는 게 너무 중요했다 이런 얘기를 해주셨습니다. 예를 들자면 동남아에서는 신용카드를 쓰지 않는 나라가 있다더라. 그렇다면 우리가 어떻게 해서 이 공략을 해서 전자상 거래를 활성화시킬 수 있을까 이런 고민을 했다는 얘기를 해주셨고요. 실제로 뭐 채팅 앱을 통해서 전자상 거래가 이루어진 나라들도 있었다는 얘기를 해주셨습니다. What was the biggest selling point for the company you worked for?
The company's business model was based on an open marketplace, which is creating a space, an online space, for buyers and sellers to merely interact. Right? Think of us as like the building owners. Right? We were just responsible of keeping the lights on, or keeping the common areas very clean, providing parking. Right? If you just think of an offline space, and so our platform, which is based on an open marketplace model, had to bring in two types of customers from our perspective. We called one, I guess, the regular people who purchased online. Those were our customers. We also had clients, which were our sellers that were on this platform. There's no way that we have inventory space or shelf space to hold everything that we had sold online. So we had to really rely on these sellers to be active on this platform. And so the key directive and the key strategy that we wanted to focus on was keeping our sellers happy, because if they're happy, they're going to provide the best customer service, they're going to provide a variety of products, and hopefully as economies of scale come into play, the prices will go down and consumers will find these cheaper products, and it's kind of its own ecosystem that we tried to initiate.
Yeah.
And so the key success factor that we had looked to achieve was making our sellers as happy as possible.
그렇군요. 특히나 이렇게 어떤 중간 입장에 있다 보니까 물건을 사고 팔고 하는 게 회사에서 물건만 파는 것이 아니라 다른 매도인 매수인을 연결해주는 역할까지도 함께 하다 보니 모두가 만족할 수 있는 방법이 뭐가 있을까 고민을 많이 했었고, 또 거기에도 주력하는 회사다 보니 그런 점이 참 좋았다 이런 얘기를 해주셨어요. So you briefly mentioned, what makes an e-commerce site successful. It's to make the sellers happy, I suppose. Any other tips you'd like to give on making e-commerce sites successful?
Yeah, e-commerce is it's definitely changed a lot of our daily social and just daily activities, really. And from a seller's perspective, some common things that I've noticed and realized is just to try to match what our purchasers, our customers are looking for. And ultimately, the main reason that people go on these sites is to find the cheapest price. That's ultimately it, right? However, specifically consumers in Korea, they're very sophisticated and they're very fickle. Shopping online or through their phones, it's normal. It's absolutely normal. And because of all that information that's available, they are naturally going to go towards the cheapest price. Now, as I think I've observed that as consumers get a little bit more sophisticated, price is also there, but also finding products that are not readily available. Right? So whether they reach out to global e-commerce companies and then import it into Korea, or faster service, there's different points that consumers are looking for on top of price. And so as long as these sellers are able to deliver the minimum expectation that our Korean consumers have, they need to focus on providing a specific type of service that's going to meet their target market, whether it's product availability or just exceptional service, like you said, just couple-hour delivery, on-demand services, whatever it may be. As a seller, those are some of the things that they absolutely need to focus on.
Know your market. Now, some actually thought that with the saturation of e-commerce, we would have to do away with the more conventional stores and what be it, and it would all be very obsolete. But I guess not. Video definitely didn't kill the radio star in that sense. Do you think otherwise? What do you think?
I have my own personal opinion, but I think you can find data that actually supports both. Right?
Okay,
A lot of these big brands, they have this omnipresence strategy where they need to be online and also be offline as well, right? Just everywhere. They need to be everywhere. And so these big companies, they're realizing that branding and being top of mind for their customers is really, really important. And so there's data that supports both. If you look at the recent major U.S. the biggest bankruptcies in recent years, they're all major retailers. These retailers are going out of business because there's so much overhead and maintaining offline space and all the expenses that are associated with that. However, alternatively, you have all these online players that are moving offline. Right? Amazon is an example, and they've purchased a huge nationwide chain, and so they have physical spaces that are that they're actively investing a lot of time, money, and effort into. And I think it's just to meet what the consumers want. They want an experience both online that's really convenient, but also offline as well. Right? And it's just natural. These players, as they reach a certain saturation point in the market, this big Amazon company, their main target audience is online customers. Well, once you've reached all your online customers, what's left? You move to your offline customers, right? And so I think that's kind of the business strategy that a lot of these companies have. And I personally think that retail is not going to be extinct. Maybe endangered is a better word. And I do definitely see from a personal perspective, there's a lot of stores that are going out of business. But that doesn't mean those companies are failing, right? And so they're just moving their presence maybe more online. And there's this recent huge company that had procured a space on Fifth Avenue. They decided to pull away from that strategy. Fifth Avenue is like the iconic offline street in the entire world, where all these luxury brands are there. And that prime spot in New York City is really hard to come by. But they recently decided to pull out because of the overhead that's there. It just wasn't worth it.
이렇게 전자상거래가 활성화되면서 기존의 어떤 상거래가 더 이상 존재 의미가 없지 않겠느냐라는 우려들이 초반에 굉장히 많이 있었습니다. 지금 그것에 대해서 어떻게 생각하는지 제가 여쭸는데요. 한 가지 답을 줄 수는 없지만 어느 정도 상호 보완적이라고도 볼 수 있고, 기존에는 오프라인으로만 물건을 판매하던 매장들이 일부 문을 닫는 경우도 볼 수 있는가 하면은 온라인상으로 거래를 시작했는데 오히려 이제 오프라인 매장을 만드는 그런 반대 현상들도 볼 수 있다는 얘기를 해주셨습니다. Well, talking about e-commerce, lots of people actually open up their own e-commerce sites, but only a few succeed. Why do you think that is?
If you look at this industry as a whole, there's a terminology that we used to use, that e-commerce is a winner-take-all industry, right? So if you look at some of the biggest economies, America and China, there's a clear winner that's there. They have a majority of the market share, and so it's a long list of short players. It's a short list of major players and a long list of niche players, right? And so Korea is a very unique market, and so it's just a matter of time where a big company is going to win, and so the smaller companies, they just don't have enough resources to compete. However, that doesn't mean that any normal person who wants to start an online shop cannot succeed. There's definitely a way for them to succeed as well. It's not easy, especially as more and more customers are coming to expect faster delivery, cheaper prices, more products that's available. And so unless these proprietors are able to provide that type of service, it does make it difficult for them to compete with these multi-billion-dollar conglomerates that are taking over this market.
Right. Well, let's say, for example, James, if I wanted to open my own sort of e-commerce site, could you give me any tips on how I could do well?
It's setting up a site, it's pretty easy, but as long as you are able to meet the demands of the consumers that you're targeting, make sure you send out your products on time, make sure your product page is very clearly written so that the consumers, they don't have any questions. All of their questions are answered before they choose the buy button. A couple other strategies would be specialization, right? And so you can pretty much buy anything online. So unless if you're able to find a product or even create your own product and move into a niche market, that'll set you apart from a lot of these other sellers and competitors that are online. And to be honest, your marketing strategy is going to be absolutely important too, right? You have to find the right ambassadors. You need to wow your customers. They're going to be the ones who are going to be promoting your product, promoting your brand and your online shop. And I think those are going to be very key if you want to open up your own, maybe online shop in the near future. Yeah.
Who knows? Now that I have your advice and those tips there, I think I have a better chance at succeeding. 보통 이제 전자상거래 하면은 우리가 잘 알기로는 대형 전자상거래 사이트들이 좀 독점을 하는 시스템이다 이런 얘기를 해주셨어요. 그럼에도 불구하고 개개인이 누구든지 나도 전자상거래 사이트를 만들고 싶다라고 하면은 만들 수는 있다 하시길래 제가 만약에 제가 시작을 하면 뭐 좀 조언을 해주실 수 있나요? 라고 좀 짓궂은 질문을 드렸더니 소비자가 뭘 원하는지 정확하게 파악을 하고 사이트가 아주 클리어해야 된다 이런 얘기도 해주셨고요. 마케팅 스트래터지 역시 너무나 중요하고 시간 약속 잘 지키는 거, 배달이 언제 된다 하면은 그때 딱 지키는 거 등등. 그 다음에 만약에 이제 틈새 시장을 노린다면은 니치 마켓이라는 거, 영어로는 영국에서 보통 우리 니치 마켓이라고 하는데요. 틈새 시장을 노려보는 것도 좋다. 일반적으로 구하지 못하는 어떤 물건 개인적으로 만들 수 있으면 더 좋다라고 말씀을 해주셨습니다. So, is there a better market for influencers then?
I think the influencers that we see all over the place today, they are the ones who are, I guess, positioning themselves in those specific niche markets as well.
Mhm.
I have a 6-year-old niece. I remember asking her, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And she said, "I want to be a YouTube influencer," which is
Really?
something that I would have never even talked about when I was a kid as
Yeah,
well.
did that
right?
term even exist?
Yeah, and so this idea, this concept of influencers,
Mm.
which came it's relatively recently,
Yeah.
they have an audience following of their own.
Yes.
And there's structures and places structures in place where their audience wants to learn more about certain types of products and certain brands. And these influencers, they have a heavy influence on them as well.
Mm.
And so what's really interesting is here in Korea, I'm kind of anticipating the two major big players to take over this whole influencer category. And from an e-commerce perspective, one is pet book, and then the other one is, starts with a G. But these are the two biggest internet companies. They're
Yes.
going to be the ones who have a monopoly on these influencer platforms, because these influencers exist because they're on these platforms,
Right.
and these platforms are successful because of their influencers as well, right?
Mm.
And so once that synergy is placed and it's set, these are for-profit companies, and so they need to start generating money, both sides, right? And so naturally commerce needs to happen, and so these influencers, that's why this term actually exists, because there's a need and a demand, and it's a great marketing strategy for any e-commerce player to take advantage of, because there's already an audience that's built into these influencers that they are tapping and capitalizing on.
그렇죠. 이미 뭐 예를 들자면은 팔로워가 굉장히 많은 인플루언서 같은 경우에는 전자상거래를 조금 다른 접근 방식으로 볼 수 있을 것 같은데요. 어느 정도 소비층이 형성이 된 상태에서 이제 거래를 하게 될 경우에는 그때는 이제 소셜 미디어와 또 손을 잡고 서로 상호보완적으로 할 필요가 있을 것이고, 그다음에 한쪽이 있어야 또 다른 쪽이 있는 것이다 이런 얘기를 해주셨습니다. Now, James, you've embarked on something a little bit different. We mentioned this at the start of our interview today. Mortgage banking and real estate. This is a recent endeavor?
Yes and no. Actually, after I graduated from college, the real estate industry and finance was my first job. To
Oh,
be honest.
was
Yeah,
it?
from a long time ago, and then the huge global recession that had happened, and so I just wanted to move on and let the past be and move on to some other exciting things. And more recently, I just had an opportunity to get back into that particular industry.
Yeah.
And with all the things, my experiences that I had, my skill set, the natural transition, it was a perfect fit, right? I just merely changed industries from e-commerce and products to real estate, right? But it's to me, I think of it as a natural transition, at least for my own personal career. And so people may think it's very, very different, but a lot of the questions that I have is actually the same, right? For example, how has technology changed the way people shop? In the same way, how is technology going to change the way people buy homes, right? So the major question that I'm thinking through right now is, what does that modern mortgage shopping experience look like? If you think of the typical home buyer, they're in their late 30s or 40s, they
Right.
have money that they saved up for a down payment to purchase a home. But now you have these younger people who are continuing to grow up, and their entire life they've grown up with the internet. They're used to shopping online. Shopping offline is weird
Yeah.
for them, right? And so even with buying a home, they're going to expect an easy, convenient way to even purchase a home, get a mortgage loan, all online. And so that's the major question I'm dealing with. What is that modern?
Your role is to help them do that.
Yeah, that's exactly it, right? And so because of my experience, if you will, or I guess more my passion, I'm just very interested in how people will change their behaviors as they, as they continue to grow up and how technology will impact and influence their lives.
네. 이커머스에서 오랫동안 종사하시다가 지금은 이제 내국인에게 장기 주택 자금을 대출해주고 미국의 부동산을 구입하는 일에 도와주는 그런 일들을 하고 계시는데 이커머스나 지금 하고 있는 일이나 동떨어진 것이 아니다 이런 얘기를 해주셨습니다. 결국은 이제 사람과 사람을 연결해주는 것이고 어떻게 하면 더 보다 편리하게 할 수 있을까라고 하면서 전자상거래도 그런 편리성의 측면에서 접근을 했던 것이고 지금도 뭐 본인의 어떤 뭐라 그럴까 역량 등등을 활용해서 사람들을 보다 편하게 대출을 받고 부동산을 구입할 수 있도록 도와주시는 것 같습니다. Could you tell us briefly a little bit more about your work for those who are not quite clear?
Yeah. So people always ask me, so do you give mortgage loans to people here in Korea? Actually, the answer is no. Our primary market is still in the United States. And I guess just the natural business evolution is we are a nationwide company. So we've targeted the U.S. market. And so naturally, we're looking to other markets. And since I'm here in Korea, Korea is another market that I'm looking towards. Because of the time difference, we are able to provide value for the headquarters back in California. When California closes, we begin. And so we operate almost 24 hours a day, right? And my role is twofold, which is operations and also sales. There's people who want to buy homes in America.
Yeah.
And if they're able to come up with a certain down payment, we want to provide an opportunity to do that, give them a mortgage loan, and invest in residential homes in America.
Yeah, and all of your life's experiences, work experiences, they come full circle.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
All right, well that is all the time we have for today. Thank you, James, for your time.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
네, 오늘은요. AmWest Funding Korea의 제임스 유님과 함께 모닝데이트 얘기 나눠봤고요. This also brings us to the end of the show. Thank you for tuning in to Morning Special with me, Choi Soo-jin. 오늘의 마지막 곡으로 Jason Mraz의 I'm Yours 들려드릴게요. Have a great day and see you tomorrow.